to 250 attendees in this room right now, and I'm expecting a few more to come in. So I'm going to take another minute before I do the introductions of the panelists and talk about this session in detail. So please let me know the city that you're dialing in from, so that we know where the audience is coming from. In the chat window, please also let us know the city that you're dialing in.
Yes, we've got quite a few people coming in from different parts of the city. Sorry, Sanjay's internet, from home is a little difficult. We've got people coming in from different parts of the city. I saw, a lot of cities from India. We've also seen, Karachi. I know there are students from different parts of the world that are coming in here. So thank you so much for taking out time on this, wonderful evening that we have here. And yes, I'll give this back to Sanjay, whose internet is back, and so is he.
Yes, so apologies for that. Your technical glitches all around, so that keeps happening. And great to see the audience so all over the country, and in fact outside as well. I see someone from dialing in from Pakistan as well, and I see people from Mumbai, 𝐒𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤 all over the place, quite literally length and breadth of the country. Today, we have an extremely interesting session, okay? This is around how do you approach an accounting case study, what happens in a Schulich accounting classroom. So we are going to talk about all of that. But let me start by introducing our panelists. So we have a diverse set today. Let me start first with Professor Shanker Trivedi. He's the Associate Professor of Accounting at the Schulich School of Business. Schulich is amongst the top business schools in Canada. He's also the Program Director of the Master of Accounting program, the Diploma in Intermediate Accounting, and the Diploma in Advanced Accounting programs. His research interests are in financial accounting, the accounting profession, and tax. His teaching interests are again in financial accounting, and he's taught at all levels. He's taught at the bachelor's level, master's level, and even at the PhD doctoral level. And he's extremely well published. He's published in journals like Experiential Economics, Experimental Economics, and Accounting Organizations and Society, amongst others. He's also the co-author of the 6th and 7th editions of Advanced Financial Accounting, and he served on many committees at York University, at Schulich, at the provincial level, and also at the national levels. Our next panelist, right? And I do want to do quick introductions over here so that you know the length and breadth of people that we are interacting with today. Our next panelist today is Marissa Mariello. She's an adjunct instructor and associate program director of the Master of Accounting program at Schulich School of Business, part of York University. She currently teaches courses in financial accounting and case writing at the undergrad and graduate levels. So if you see the profiles of Professor Trivedi and Marissa, right, both of them have taught across various levels, so at the undergraduate and the postgraduate levels, and possibly is very well suited to guide and interact with our audience today, which is mainly made up of undergraduate students from across the country and also outside. The other two people on the panel that you see right now are Vijinder Trivedi, a close friend of mine and a former colleague. Vijinder is a Schulich alumnus. He did his MBA at the Schulich School of Business, graduating in 2011. Did I get the year correct, Vijinder, over there, or did I mess it up?
Correct. That's okay. Correct.
So graduating in 2011, he's worked in Toronto across various industries for multiple years before moving back to India, taking over the operations and management of the Schulich campus in India. So he currently manages recruitment and admissions for Schulich's MBA and MBA in India programs, and is the director at the Hyderabad campus. And Rahul is a recent addition to the Schulich team, recently started over there, and he's looking after admissions, recruitment, and marketing for the DIAC and plus Masters of Accounting program that Schulich is launching in India very soon. With that, let me kickstart this session with our first poll for the evening. Sharang, if you're able to run this. Okay, great. So on the screen to the audience, you can see the first poll for the evening. Since this session is around Schulich's accounting case method, please let us know how many of you are interested in pursuing a career in accounting in Canada. The three options in front of the screen, in front of you, are either you're very interested, or you're somewhat interested, or you're not very interested. So just very quickly, I'll keep this open for just 5 to 10 seconds. So very quickly, let us know how interested you are in pursuing a career in accounting in Canada. Okay. I see a lot of responses have already come in, but the responses are still coming in. So I'm going to keep this open for another 5 to 10 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, please let us know how interested are you in pursuing a career in accounting in Canada. Today's session is around your the accounting program at Schulich. We are going to talk about the case method approach followed during the program. So let us know how interested are you in pursuing a career in accounting in Canada. With that, Sharon, let's end this poll and display the results very quickly. All right, great. So we are able to see on your screen right now what percentage replied for which option. So 38% seem to be extremely interested. 45% are somewhat interested. So maybe fence sitters still on the borderline. 16% are not very interested. I'm guessing they're in this session to see the case study methodology that Schulich uses for teaching. So if you want to, those who are not very interested, if you still want to stick around in the session, you are most welcome to do so. But this session is mainly going to be around accounting. So if you don't find this relevant, please feel free to drop off as well. That's not a problem. Great. With that, let's kickstart this session. Let me hand over the screen to Professor Trivedi now to tell us a little more about Schulich's DIAC plus Masters of Accounting program that they're looking to launch in India at the Hyderabad campus starting next year. And from there, let's streamline into the case study methodology with Marissa. Over to you, Professor Trivedi.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Good morning, everybody, or good evening there. Hope you have been having a good day so far. As you can see here, it's very deliberate, the title that we have here. First, many of you already might know that Schulich is the #1 business school in Canada and in the world too, one of the top business schools. And much more importantly, what we have here is a master career plan that you could use to not only get into the accounting profession, but also into the field of business. Many people think that accounting is just, bookkeeping. It's far from it. And that's the reason why we have this master class where Marissa is going to, showcase to you how we deal with cases and how accountants can play a vital role in business and become leaders in business globally, right? And that's the idea here, to make you ready to succeed in the global accounting profession and in the global business of today. Next slide, please. Also, an important thing that is going to happen is that we are going to initiate and start this diploma in intermediate accounting in India, and this segues into the Masters of Accounting program. So you take your first semester in the summer in Hyderabad, and then from then on, you come over to Toronto, and you join the other cohorts here. You learn with them, and within a period of 16 months, you get ready to write your common final exam of the CPA Institute, and then you're ready to become a CPA, and then succeed as a CPA in the profession in the world. Next slide. Obviously, to start with, we have the Schulich Advantage. And as I said already, it's a top business program in Canada and also in the world. So we have very innovative experiential programs. And one of the such programs is our MAC program. We are a leader in corporate responsibility. We have global partnerships throughout the world, which means that wherever you go in the world, you have people who know you, who can put you up with the right resources and make sure that you succeed wherever you go in the world. And we also have an extensive business alumni network spanning 90 countries, which means that you're not going to be a stranger wherever you go or wherever your business leads you. So next slide. So now coming back to the DIAC in India program and the MAC program in Canada. First of all, ours is a highly prestigious, rigorous program. We have a very high pass rate. Our students are fantastic. Our instructors are fabulous. One example is Marissa, who's going to showcase how we deal with cases. One question that in the chat was that how does our program differ from other programs? One is that our is one of the very few programs that is accredited all the way, and it takes you all the way to the common final exam. So you don't have to detrain and continue continue your training with something else, right? We take you all the way, and we make use of this unique case method, which is called the Schulich accounting case method. Not all of you might know, in accounting in India, right, it's all debits and credits, black and white, but accounting is far from that, right? And the CFE is tested using cases, which means you have to be very comfortable using cases from day one, and that's what we do. We teach accounting using cases. I'm not going to talk a lot more about that because that's what Marissa is going to do now, right? But essentially what the case does is that it helps you to develop your critical thinking skills, right? Your analytical skills. It also helps you to, convey your, understand the case, come up with a solution, not only that, convey it to others, because, one of the biggest things that people are looking for in accountants is the ability to communicate orally, written, and other formats. And that's what we train you from day one. And finally, because of the signal that we provide, the quality that we have, this gives you a passport to the world, right? So you can go anywhere in the world, just not be in Canada. You can use Canada as a base, and then you can move on to other places, right? And succeed wherever your career takes you. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. What I'll do is now I'm going to introduce Marissa Mariello, who, as Sanjay already said, is the Associate Program Director of the program, and she's going to showcase the accounting case method through this masterclass. So now to you, Marissa.
Thank you very much for that, Shankar. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited to be here, and we appreciate you taking time out of your evening to join us here today. We're going to teach you a little bit about the method that we use at Schulich. And so this evening, we're going to make a case for the case method. Why is case writing and case analysis so valuable to you as a prospective CPA here in Canada? Well, the rationale behind creating a Schulich accounting case method, which is unique to our program, is that accountants are critical thinkers. And so, that requires us not to just do the debits and credits, as Shankar mentioned, but also to be able to analyze information depending on a certain fact pattern. Also, accountants need to be information communicators. So that means orally, and that also means financial data, being able to prepare financial statements, but also being able to support our rationale for a given position. And so IFRS GAAP is all principles-based. It's not so much the black and white. There's a lot of gray. And so we need to be able to exercise and train that professional judgment so that you can obtain the CPA designation and successfully pass your CPA examination here in Canada. Accountants also solve problems and make decisions. And so case writing is all about the problem solving and the decision making. And so every single case has a different dilemma, a unique problem that we need to address. And finally, accountants add value. And so we want to equip you with the skills that will give you the opportunity, all of the great opportunities to be able to train, learn the methodologies, and successfully write your CFE examination on your first try. Now, in terms of accounting learning, our thought process behind teaching case writing is that accounting is not just about knowledge recall. So not just about writing a multiple choice exam or about memorizing something and then regurgitating it. In order to successfully differentiate ourselves from others in the accounting industry in Canada and globally, we need to be able to analyze and apply our accounting knowledge to new situations. So our goal here at Schulich is to basically work our way from the very bottom, the foundational concepts, all the way through to the acquisition of analytical skills, critical thinking skills, which are absolutely instrumental in your ability to succeed in Canada and globally. So how does this Schulich case method work? Well, essentially, it requires us to read scenarios critically. I always liken it to, for example, if you're reading the latest sports section of your national team, or you're reading for the Hollywood gossip, the latest Hollywood gossip. That's very passive reading. Well, this isn't passive reading. It's about assertive reading. We're getting in there, we're dissecting elements of every sentence, and we're understanding exactly what's happening in the case as opposed to just doing leisure reading. Then we're going to identify the stakeholders, and I'll define the term stakeholders a little bit later on in case someone doesn't understand what that term means, and we'll identify what the needs of the various stakeholders are. Then we'll also identify and analyze issues. So what are the accounting problems that we see in the case? And then we're going to recommend a course of action. So every case presents a different challenge, which is why the case writing method, the Schulich accounting case writing method, is very valuable to you as an accounting student here at Schulich. And so we're going to start off with an example here, Musical Notes, Inc. So the scenario is that at the start of 2018, Joseph and Mateo, two brothers, founded Musical Notes, Inc. So there's some history to the company. It's been around for a few years. They're a manufacturer of various musical instruments in Toronto, Canada. The company's rapid growth is attributed to the passionate and hardworking employees. So that's a key success factor to the company. The company has been able to attribute the growth of this company to the employees that are passionate about what they do. Joseph and Mateo determine their salaries based on the financial results of the company in a given year. So essentially, their remuneration is based on the results of the past year. For example, if they had a good year, then we would expect that they would pay themselves a higher salary than if they had a poorer year where they had weak financial results. Now, in early 2022, the company acquired a building for $2 million from a competitor who was desperate to sell the building due to cash flow issues. Okay, so the competitor was desperate to sell, and we acquired the building from them. Management believes the building is worth between $2.5 million and $3.5 million. So it looks like they got a really good deal here, right? So they only paid $2 million because the seller was desperate to sell, but it's actually worth, in the opinion of management, $2.5 to $3 million. During 2022, as a result of exhausting financing from its owners, M&I has had to seek external financing from Big Bank. M&I obtained a loan for $400,000 repayable in 2 years, so it's not that long of a time frame, with the loan requiring M&I to provide collateral. Collateral refers to security or assets or items that they have pledged in the event that M&I can't pay their debt. So what can the bank seize from them? M&I is also seeking financial statements for the 2022 year, which is January 1st to December 31st, that period, that present a fair picture of the company. So what does fair mean? Fair to whom? What are we referring to when we say fair picture? Up until 2022, financial statements were prepared only for the government for taxation purposes. Unfortunately, on January 28th, 2023, a fire on M&I's premises damaged $55,000 worth of inventory. Total inventory of $500,000 remains. M&I has business insurance. Okay, so think about the implications of that, if any, if you can think of anything that may come to mind. And now let's look at what we've been asked to do. It is now February 15th, 2023, and you are an accounting advisor. You've been asked to determine, number one, at what value should the building be reported to the bank? Remember, we said that they paid $2 million, but management believes that the building is worth $2.5 to $3 million. And second, how do we address this fire issue that happened subsequent to my 2020 year? Do we deal with it? Do we ignore it? What do we do? So as I noted earlier in the Schulich case method, what we always have to do is identify the stakeholders. And so what is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is someone that has something at stake or at risk with respect to the organization. So can someone tell me who is one of our stakeholders here? Who's one of our stakeholders? Who is someone that has something at stake in this business? So remember, we saw that there was the two brothers, Big Bank. Is there anyone that has something at stake here? In terms of looking at the financial statements, in terms of being affected by the financial statements? Yes, very good. M&I, the bank, absolutely, very good. Okay, so we have a number of different stakeholders, individuals that are affected by the financial results or that make decisions based on the financial results. Excellent. I saw employees as well. Very good. So we can identify the stakeholders as following: bank, Joseph and Mateo, the employees, or the other employees. Now, why did we distinguish between Joseph and Mateo and the other employees? Well, we see that Joseph and Mateo get a bonus or get a salary derived from net income, but there was no reference to the employees. They're likely paid on a regular basis. And then we have the government as well. And the insurance company will also be using the financial statements for the purposes of essentially determining how much to compensate the company for. Now, when we think of the needs, we want to understand what each of the stakeholders has in terms of needs, because every stakeholder will have different objectives. So, for example, when we're referring to the bank, what will the bank be using the financial statements for? What will the bank be using financial statements for? Well, remember, we have a loan in place. So what do they want to do? What do they want to make sure is happening with the loan? If you were to lend money to someone, what would you expect? You would expect repayment of that loan around the prescribed framework, right? Whatever terms have been set. Absolutely. And I see many of you noting that. Very good. Okay. So the bank is interested in assessing M&I's ability to repay the loan. All right. That's their primary objective. How about the government? What is the government interested in? What would the government be interested in? Remember, we said that M&I was using financial statements for the purpose of essentially paying taxes. So absolutely, I see many of you have also indicated for the purposes of assessing tax compliance. Then we have Joseph and Mateo. What would their needs be with respect to the financial statements? What would their needs be? So remember, Joseph and Mateo determined their salary based on the results of the company. Absolutely. I see many of you saying as well, profitability or performance of the company. Very good. So Joseph and Mateo would want to increase their income to obviously increase their salaries. So they'd be also interested in, managing the operations so that they can continue to see that growth that has been historically part of their business. Then we have the insurance company. What would the insurance company be using the financial statements for? So the insurance company, remember, M&I has the insurance policy in place. They have business insurance. And so absolutely, as some of you are indicating in the chat, we'd want to assess damages. Very good. So we would want to ensure that the inventory that M&I claims to have been lost in the fire is the actual amount of inventory that was lost. And finally, the employees, what would they be looking to use the financial statements for? What would they be using the financial statements for? So if you're an employee of a company and your company is making profits, what would you expect in return? Well, you would expect that your salary would also be reflective of the growth in the company. Bonuses, very good. Increased remuneration, excellent. Very well done, okay? So these are our various stakeholders. And then we have to sit back and say, okay, who is our primary stakeholder? Who is the most important stakeholder and why? So we have lots of different competing demands here, different uses of the financial statements. But which one of these users has the most power in the sense that if, they're not satisfied, then it can threaten the viability of the company? The bank, very good. Because the bank has loaned us money and the bank has essentially stipulated a 2-year repayment window. And the bank has also assigned or has the expectation of collateral. Bear in mind as well that earlier on we saw one of the competitors was desperate to sell because of cash flow issues. So we have currently exhausted all of our personal resources for money. And so now we've had to go to the bank. So we don't want to be in a cash flow crunch situation, just like our competitor. So M&I requires the financing to continue to grow And if the bank were to pull the financing, it would most definitely threaten the viability of the company. So we've done the stakeholder analysis. Our next part in the Schulich accounting case method is to identify the issues. So what do we see as the two broad issues here? And you may, get your hint from that in terms of the required, if you think back to the required that we did. Okay, so what are the two main issues here that we saw? So no bonds, no James Bond. I like that joke, but what are the two main issues here? So there's no bonds in this scenario, maybe in a future case, but in this particular instance, what do we have? What issues do we see? What issues do we see? Yes, the valuation of the building, and as well how to report the events after the 22 year. So basically, those are the two broad issues here. How do we report the building to the bank, and how do we address that fire issue? Do we just ignore it? I mean, it happened after the 2020 year. The bank only wants our 2022 results. Should we even bother? So let's deal with the first issue. In your opinion, at what value should the building be reported to the bank? Remember, we saw from the facts that essentially management had paid the building $2 million. And in their opinion, the building was worth $2.5 to $3 million. So what do we think about that? At what value? So some of you have said fair market value. Okay, what else? So the value it may be able to recover, okay? 2.5, so I see a whole slew of responses. NRV, net present value, realizable value, fair market value. There's a whole slew. So what is the right answer? What is the right answer? It depends. And that's something at Schulich that we always say, and I know myself as a student, when I learned the Schulich case method, the it depends was very uneasy for me initially. But it's the one thing that I strongly believe helped me to successfully pass the CFE. Because in real life, it's not just black and white. It's about the gray areas, and it's about the it depends. And it depends on a number of different things. You can see just in the chat box, we have maybe 20 different options for what the value of the bank should, or the value of the building should be. And so does that mean that all of them are correct? No, we need to support our rationale for a given position. Now, if we think about the objectives of the bank, we indicated on the previous slide that the bank was the most important stakeholder. And again, the rationale for saying that the bank was the most important stakeholder was because the bank had the power to essentially call their loan, or to essentially demand repayment of their loan, which would potentially call into question the viability of our operations. And so we have to appease the bank. We have to make sure that the bank is satisfied with our decisions from an accounting perspective. And so they being the bank, specifically asked for a fair picture, a fair assessment. So what is considered fair? Well, is the 2.5 fair? Is the 3 million fair? Or is it the 2 million? And so you can see that I've put, the scales of justice, or a balancing measure, to essentially say we need to support our rationale for either one. And so in a case discussion, what we would do is we would actually discuss the merits of using the 2 million, or the merits of using the 2.5 or the 3 million. Okay. Now, in accounting, or in the Schulich case method, we need to support. So what is the support for the 2 million? What would be the rationale for using 2 million? Why 2? Remember, this is the price that we paid. So if I've paid it, there's some sort of paper trail. There's some sort of check copy that I can go back to and verify that this amount has actually been paid. And so the ability to validate that payment may support a fair presentation to the bank. So that amount can most definitely be confirmed, and that's great. And it works hand in hand with this idea of supporting a fair picture to the bank. Now, what's the rationale for the 2.5 or the 3 million? What's the rationale for that? Why would we use that 2.5 or 3 million, which I know some of you did suggest would be a viable alternative? Why would that make sense? So the other thing that we always do at the Schulich case method is we're constantly asking why. You need to support your position. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is equip you with the life skills to get you to succeed in the global environment. And so to differentiate yourself from others, it's not just about the memorization. It's the why, it's the support. Your CFE pathway serves as a launching pad from Schulich. It serves as a launching pad to the rest of your career. And so that CFE, the Common Final Examination, which is through CPA Canada, which the Schulich School of Business takes you all the way through to the CFE, which not many schools do. And we're going to talk about this a little bit at the end as well, but it serves as a launching pad to your career. And so you need to get in the habit of asking yourself, why? Why are we doing this? Or why am I suggesting this? What's the support behind it? So very good. Some of you are indicating that the why here is that, you know, it's the current market value of the asset. Okay. However, it is more aggressive in the sense that we are going above what we've paid. And one limitation of this amount is also the fact that if we go back to the case, we'll see that it was actually management. If we go back to the case, we'll see it was actually management that indicated they believe the building is worth between 2.5 and 3 million. So management will obviously include their own biases. We have a bias or a motivation to inflate those numbers because we know that the bank is paying attention in particular to our collateral or the value of that collateral. So if the number is coming from management and it is indicative of potential biases, what would you suggest perhaps that we do? What would you suggest? What could we do to support that 2.5 or $3 million? Well, we could potentially go out and get a third party to assess the value of that building. So get it from a party that is independent of our company, of M&I. And so that way it would give support to the bank that essentially that value is not biased in any way. And so we can see that the biases of management will steer us towards the 2.5 or the $3 million. However, that value or that range is unsubstantiated. And so as a result, we would need to seek out external parties to be able to essentially validate or confirm that amount. But there's conflicting objectives. From the perspective of the bank, they want to just assess that it's the appropriate amount. Has the company actually complied with the terms of the loan agreement? Does the company have collateral in place? And what is the value of that collateral? Whereas the objectives of management are, we want to try and present the best picture. We want to present the company in the best light. And also when we think about the term fair, fair to whom? Fair to whom? What is fair to me may not be fair to you, especially when there are conflicting objectives. If I'm a seller of a company and you're the buyer of a company, you want to pay the lowest price. I want you to pay the highest price. So what does fair mean? So in our Schulich case methods, we often question the concept of fair to the extent that it's covered in our cases, okay? So we're not going to actually, discuss or calculate the amount that we should consider. or do any sort of calculation. But accounting principles, for anyone that's interested, accounting principles would tell us that we should go by the $2 million. Okay, so we should record the building at the $2 million. And there are only limited circumstances. For example, if it's investment property, property that we are holding to rent it out, for instance, or holding for capital appreciation, that we would be able to support recording it at, anywhere between the 2.5 to the $3 million range. Okay. But at the end of the day, if the amounts are unsupported or they include our own biases, the financial statements wouldn't present a fair picture. And so that's ultimately the issue. We need to be fair. And in this case, we don't want to misconstrue anything to the bank. And as a result, we're going to opt for the $2 million and record it as such. Okay. Now, in terms of the fire, we see from the facts that the company has essentially incurred a fire post 2022. So technically, it doesn't fall within the window of time that the bank is asking for. The bank specifically said, we only want the results from January 1st to December 31st. That's it. So if there's a fire after 2022, who cares? Why should I report it? What do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts? Do you think that we should notify the bank? If you agree that we should notify the bank, then say yes. Otherwise, you can say no. I'm just curious to see what you guys think. So we're saying yes, we should notify the bank. So I'm going to push back and say, well, no, because it's not within the period that I'm being asked for. It's only between January to December 31st. So that's extra information. They don't need to know that, or it's not relevant. Why am I going to waste the time of the bank giving them information about activities or things that have occurred subsequent to year end? So let's think about how we would dissect this issue. So again, the bank is only seeking financial statements to December 31st. The fire occurred subsequent to this date. Okay. And the bank is counting on this inventory, though. They are counting on the inventory as being collateral in the event that M&I cannot pay their loan. Okay, so I see some of you are, throwing in some of the accounting concepts of subsequent events. That's not required here, right? You don't need to tell me the AS4 or the IFRS standards. That we're just trying to keep it, at a very fundamental core level. Does it present a fair picture if we were to exclude the fact that we had a fire? Okay, so I actually ran this presentation by my husband to see, who's a non-accountant, and to see the thought process, right? We want to make sure that we can actually critically think through issues without accounting knowledge. The accounting knowledge you can always learn. Remember when we saw that pyramid? The pyramid showed as the foundation the knowledge recall. We can all do that. But it's not just the knowledge recall at Schulich. It's the application. It's the critical thinking, the why. It's the why. And that's really important. So because the bank is counting on this inventory as collateral, in the event that M&I cannot pay, then we want to present that fair picture to them. We want to let them know that that inventory was damaged, because not reporting the fire could potentially be construed as not being fair, not providing a fair picture of the company. And so knowing what inventory exists as collateral is very important to the bank. Even though within that period of 2022, the inventory was still intact, subsequent to 2022, it wasn't. And therefore, we need to notify them in writing of the loss. So that loss of inventory, we need to basically notify them of that. And so what are our recommendations in conclusion? So we recommend that they record the building at the amount paid of $2 million. And you can see I've put puzzle pieces here. The significance of that is basically to say, look, in writing your reports, and we're going to help you guys with the case writing. We're going to help you with putting together your thoughts, making sure that they're, to the standard of CPA Canada. But essentially, we have to bring everything together in our recommendation. So we want to record the building at the amount paid of $2 million. And at the same time, we want to notify Big Bank of the inventory loss, even though it occurred subsequent to year end, because that information is important to our most important stakeholder, which is the bank. So I want to thank you guys for listening to that. And I do want to just, remind you that the why is the most important aspect of case writing. And, I'm a huge advocate of the Schulich case method because, as I said, it's helped me in my own career and in ensuring that I successfully pass the CFE. And here at Schulich, we do provide you that training. And so we go into how you structure your response appropriately. We're one of the few schools in Canada that actually provides a direct pathway all the way through to the CFE. So we are looking forward to meeting you all in Toronto, and we look forward to having you in our program. Thank you very much for listening this evening. So I'm just going to pass it over to Sanjay now. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marissa. Thank you for that sample class. It was extremely influential, extremely impressive, took me back to my B school days. And with that, before we go to the next segment, I quickly want to run our next poll for the evening. And this is also feedback on how impressive it was for the audience. So after getting a taste of this case method, how keen are you to study at Schulich? So to the audience, you can see the poll question on your screen right now. Let us know how interested are you to study the same method, through the same methodology, same approach in a Schulich classroom. Okay, I do have some responses come in. I'm going to wait for another 10 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, do let us know how keen are you to study through a similar case approach, the same methodology in a Schulich classroom. Okay, I do have some around 45 responses. I'm going to keep it open for another 2-3 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, do let us know how interested are you to study to the same approach in the Schulich classroom. All right, great. With that, I'm going to end this poll and share the results very quickly. So around 60% of the audience who have responded are saying that they are very interested to study at Schulich. They want to experience this in a Schulich classroom as well. 36% are somewhat interested, so still fence sitters. 4% are not very interested. That is surprising for me. I would love to go back to a Schulich classroom and study like this, get a taste of this learning again in my life if I can. But if you're still not impressed, then maybe you need to attend more such workshops, maybe attend more such case study workshops from Schulich faculty and get further impressed. Great. With that, let's move on to the next segment of the evening. So we did see, you did get a taste of the DIAC program and the Master of Accounting program from Professor Shankar. You got a taste of how the teaching takes place in the classroom during the Master of Accounting at Schulich. Now, let me invite Vijinder to tell us a little more about the program they are launching. So there's a DIAC plus Masters of Accounting program being launched. It's a pathway from Hyderabad taking you all the way to Toronto. So let me invite Vijinder to tell you a little more about this program, about the structure, how it plays out, and then we'll take questions for all of them. So stay put. Over to you, Vijinder.
Great. Thanks, Sanjay. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Very nice to meet you all, of course, virtually, audio only for now. But I hope you're able to see my screen. So just sharing a slide that shows the structure of the program. So this is how the DIAC in India and Master of Accounting in Canada program is structured. So you start your program here in India at our Hyderabad campus. You do your term 0 of the DIAC program here in India. This is where you build a solid foundation. So that's your term 0. This is from May to August, 4 months in India. And then you move to Toronto to do your term 1 of the DIAC program. This is where you leverage on the strong foundation that you've built in term 0, right? So term 0 and term 1 DIAC program, right? So first term in Hyderabad, second term in Toronto. Once you finish the DIAC program, you join the Master of Accounting program. and you join term 2 of the Master of Accounting program, the MAC program. And that is where you'll acquire mastery over advanced topic. That's where professors and instructors will discuss advanced topics. And then you will move to term 3, the final term. That is where you will master the case method that Marissa just discussed with you. That's where you'll master the case method and you will be fully prepared for the CFE exam, right? So it's term 1 to term 3, 4 terms, 16-month program, 4 months in India and 12 months in Canada. So this is how the program is structured. And once you finish your MAC program, you then sit for the CFE exam. And just so you know, the Schulich MAC follows the CPA certification program pathway. So this will take you up to the CFE exam and you get your CPA designation. Okay, and very quickly, what I'll do is I'll give you more details about how the program is going to work here in India. So it's a summer intake only. So you start your program, term 0, DIAC, here in India in May. It's delivered here in Hyderabad. We'll cover 5 foundational courses over 2 terms. When we say 2 terms, it's term 0, but it's divided into 2 parts. It's taught by Schulich faculty. They fly from Toronto to Hyderabad. They are here with our students and do the classes in person. And again, going back to the Schulich case method. So we use the unique Schulich case method to teach you accounting, and that is how we build a solid foundation in term 0 here. And then you move to Toronto, and that's where the term 1 of the DAC program is delivered, and then you also finish 2 terms of MAC. You will join other DIAC and MAC students in Toronto. This program fully prepares students for the CFE, and you also become eligible to apply for a post-graduation work permit in Canada. So that's how the program is structured. And if we go back to, and I know Shankar did touch upon a few of these benefits, but I'll go ahead and discuss the key benefits. First, of course, being you get strong brand on your resume. Schulich is consistently ranked number 1 in Canada. It's a strong brand. Having a strong brand on your resume helps you settle, find great jobs in Canada and in other countries. Second, of course, CPA designation. Third is work permit. So you become eligible to apply for a post-graduation work permit in Canada. Fourth, passport to the world. As Shankar mentioned, you're able to leverage your CPA designation and Schulich's alumni network to work in multiple countries. And last but not least, for the DIAC in India program, cost-wise, best ROI, because you receive financial aid towards your first term tuition fees, which is term 0. And you also save on cost of living in term 0 here in India. And so these are the key benefits of the DIAC in India program. The other advantage that you get with Schulich is the Toronto advantage. So you'll end up studying in one of the most diverse and best cities in the world. I'm sure you know this, but I'll go ahead and share. 55%, actually more, of Toronto's population was born outside of Canada. And Toronto is one of the best university cities for international students. And I'm also assuming that if you're moving to Toronto, to Canada, these other stats that I've highlighted here become even more important, right? You will plan on settling down, getting your PR, and eventually maybe you apply for citizenship, right? So the other 3 stats that I've mentioned here become even more important. Toronto is ranked as the safest metropolitan city in North America, right? And ranks among the top 5 most livable cities in the world. And from an opportunity standpoint, it's ranked number 3 in the world by PwC Cities of Opportunity. And we all know that it's the 3rd largest aggregate stock exchange in North America. So with Schulich, you also get the Toronto advantage. Moving on to what does Schulich offer? Of course, an excellent academic curriculum. They prepare you for the CFE exam. But from day 1, you also gain access to a strong support system that will help you with your career. We have a center called Career Development Center. It's just recently been rebranded. And you get three things. You have individualized coaching and advising, so sector-based coaches. So from day one, you will be in touch with a career coach and an advisor to plan your post-MAC or post-DIAC. Maybe I don't know if you want to take an internship, or if you want to prepare for the CFE exam, take a break, or you just want to join a company and prepare for CFE. It's really how you plan, and you have your career coach and advisor and an academic advisor that you'll have access to discuss all of this plan and approach, right? So individualized coaching and advising is available. Second is tools. So we all know that, again, coming from South Asia, moving to North America, soft skills are very important. And the CDC team, and now it's CCD team, that will help you fine-tune those soft skills, that will help you network better in North America. So we have some soft skill development workshops and online career portals, resume banks that you have access to apply for jobs. And last but not least, network. It's through networking that you find really good jobs. And CCD team helps you with this. We have year-round on-campus recruitment events. We have year-round corporate networking events. We have breakfast sessions, we have speed networking sessions, and last but not least, alumni networking mixer. Our alumni are very well placed in the industry, and we help you connect with them, right? So you tap into our alumni network to find the jobs that you're super interested in. So from day zero, day zero, right? Once you get your admission, you gain access to all of these resources. Moving on, let's look at the admission requirements. So for DIAC in India, from an academic standpoint, required to have a 3 or a 4-year undergraduate degree, a NAC accredited university with A and above rating. GPA, we do require you to have 60% and above, first class. Also some prerequisites in terms of courses, so microeconomics, macroeconomics, statistics, and finance courses. Some prerequisites required for this program. And a competitive GMAT or GRE score. So we accept both GMAT and GRE, and it's an important requirement to apply for the DIAC in India program. Work experience, it's recommended, not required. Language, English language test. Again, coming from India, most of you, your education or medium of instruction has been in English. So this is optional, it's not mandatory. But if you have given TOEFL or IELTS, you can submit, but here are the cutoffs. As part of your application package, you'll also submit 2 written, 1 timed written, and 2 video essays. And last but not least, we would also like to hear from your referees, from your mentors, from your professors, or people that you've worked with. So 2 references is what we look for, 1 academic and 1 professional. So again, this is just the minimum admission requirements. This is the package that you'll submit, but we do a holistic evaluation, right? So everything about you is important, right? Your GMAT score, your academics, your work, if you have work experience, your extracurricular activities, your leadership skills, and did you just stick to 9 to 5 or just to your academic courses, or did you go above and beyond? So we'll look at all of that when we evaluate your application. Okay, moving to your application deadline. So the program starts in May 2023, and here are the deadlines. So you're approaching the round 2 deadline. It's on September 21st. The round 3 deadline is end of November 23, 2022. And we recommend that you submit your application by November 23, 2022. And this is my last slide. So next step, please feel free to reach out. I'm sure you have questions and I'd love to answer your questions, but recommendation would be to attend our events to get to know more about Schulich, to see what's happening at Schulich, to meet current students or alumni. You can register for events here at this link. You can also send us an email, directly contact us if you have any questions. You can also send us your profile, and we do a pre-admission assessment for you as you're thinking about applying to Schulich. And you can also, of course, connect with us on social media. Okay. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions. Over to you, Sanjay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Vijinder. And I see a lot of questions have come in. Professor Shankar and Marissa have already answered quite a few of those questions, but I do want to take some questions live. We still have 10 minutes before we have to wrap up this session. So I'm going to take some important questions from the audience. There were a lot of questions around post-study, work permits, ROI, career opportunities, all of that. But before I do that, right, I have a quick last poll for the audience. This is our last poll for the evening. And I really want to know from the audience the interest in the Schulich DIAC program. So you saw the program structure from Vijinder, where you do the DIAC overall for 8 months. So first 4 months in India, next 4 months in Toronto, and then you continue on to the Masters of Accounting program at Schulich for the next 8 months. So overall 16 months kind of duration gives you a pathway into Canada. You are based in one of the most vibrant cities in the world and one of the my most favorite cities in the world as well, Toronto. So gets you over there for a period of time. And I do have responses coming in. I'm going to still keep this poll open for another 10 seconds. So if you haven't responded, please let us know your interest in the Schulich DIAC program. Are you looking for this pathway into a career in Canada through the Schulich DIAC program or not? So let us know if you're very likely to apply to the program. If you're somewhat likely, undecided, you want more information, then choose that option. If you're not interested, you're sure that you don't want to go to this pathway, choose the third option. It's always good for us to know whether this program would be relevant or of interest to you or not. So I'm going to keep this open for another 3 seconds and then start asking my difficult questions to Vijinder, Rahul, and Professor Shankar and Marissa as well, who are still on the panel. So I'm going to bring them in as well. If you have already responded to this poll, you can post your questions. You can continue posting your questions in the Q&A window. I will pick up the relevant or the most highly voted questions to ask to them. Great. With that, I'm going to end this poll and share the result quickly. So around 36% of you said that you're very likely to apply or start your application to the Schulich DIAC program in India. 56% are undecided. You're somewhat likely. You ideally want more information. For that, of course, your Vijinder and his team would be in touch with you. They would reach out to you. But you also, Vijinder did show the contact email address. So if you have some quick queries after this session, you can reach out to the Schulich team, get your doubts clarified, access the program brochure website, get more information from there, and then take decision. 8% are not very likely. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything to impress you with this possibly, but as you get to know more about this program, your mind or your thoughts may change. If that happens, do reach out to the Schulich team and get clarity. With that, let me jump into the questions that are yet to be answered. A lot of relevant and interesting questions or highly voted questions were answered by Professor Trivedi and Marissa. You can see them in the answered questions list in the Q&A window. But let me take up the questions that are still unanswered. Vijinder, the first question that I want to take up is from 𝐒𝐸𝐿𝐸𝐻, who's asking about the ROI of this program, the post-study income projections that you have, and also the postgraduate work permit that the audience, that people going through this program can look for when they're in Canada.
Okay, great. I have a slide for this one. So, excellent. Great question. Important question. Right. So what I'll do is I'll quickly share with you the employment stats and other information data that's on the slide. So if you look at the class of 2020 employment, 97% of students were hired within 6 months of graduation. Okay, so that shows that, most of our students eventually get hired. And if you look at some of the key firms that hire at Schulich, or BDO Canada, Canadian Tire, Deloitte, EY. We also have banks, RBC, TD. So these are our top employers. And if you look at the accounting, and I think this is important for all of you to know, is accounting professional salary data, right? So if you look at the Toronto, the median is around 118. This is, again, Canadian dollars, 118K Canadian dollars. And the national median is about 107,000 Canadian dollars, and mean being around 167K for Toronto, and Canada, it's about 146K. But one important note here is Schulich students earn well above the average, the industry average, right? And some sample roles that for you to know: financial and accounting associate, staff accountant, intermediate accountant, US tax associate as well, portfolio analyst, fund accountant. So again, there are some sample roles, and I'm sure if you want to know more, we can always, once we get the data from 𝐶EET Education, we'll reach out to you and see if we can do or drop-in sessions to dive a bit deeper to answer, more questions around sample roles, employment data, and other things that you would like to know. And in terms of the post-graduation work permit, so considering this is a 16-month program, yes, you spend 4 months here in India and 12 months in Canada. Again, I'll start with a disclaimer saying it's between you and the IRCC, but you will become eligible to apply for a post-graduation work permit, PGWP, and you're eligible to get up to 3 years of work permit. Right, because you're enrolled in Canadian institution from day one, you're paying fees in Canadian dollars from day one, and you're spending only 4 months here, and then moving to Toronto to complete your program, 12 months of program. So you're eligible to get up to 3 years of work permit. I hope that answers the question, Sanjay.
Awesome, it does perfectly. So you spend 4 months in India, you do 12 months in Toronto overall, and you become eligible for up to 3 years of postgraduate work permit. As per Canadian regulation, only IRCC, the immigration body of Canada, can advise or take more detailed questions about work permits. So we would not get into that, but up to 3 years is what is the possibility that you can look at. Great. Now, within the one question which has come up, and there's a perception around fees, right? People think that studying abroad is extremely expensive. And they are looking for, of course, financing, funding opportunities. Plus, you did touch upon how studying in Hyderabad for the first 4 months brings down the cost of overall education because cost of tuition plus cost of living goes down. But do you want to share once more the overview of how much the students can expect to spend if they're pursuing such a program?
Great question. And again, an important question. It's $20,000 per term. So the total cost is going to be $80,000, the tuition fees. But as I'll quickly share the slide where we discussed the financial aid and term one. So give me a second. I want to go back to that slide.
In the meantime, let me tell the audience that the exchange rate for Canadian dollar is not the same as the US dollar. The Canadian dollar exchange rate is much lower. So we will talk about that. You don't multiply it by 78 or 80 immediately. It's not doing a math. That would be completely wrong. So please don't do that.
Point. Yeah, so you'll receive financial aid towards first term tuition fees, and the financial aid is going to be around 5,000 Canadian dollars. So the total cost comes out to be, or the total tuition fees comes out to be 75,000 Canadian dollars, right? And again, you'll be saving on cost of living in term zero here in India, right? But I also want you to, look at our stats here, right? The accounting professional salary, and that will give you a sense of the ROI, right? Most of our students are done with their loan in about 2 to 2.5 years max. That's the ROI that we're looking at.
Right. So those of you who don't know this, the Canadian dollar to INR exchange rate is around 60 rupees. So each Canadian dollar is equivalent to 60 rupees INR. So when you're doing your math of $75,000 and doing that multiplication, do it taking 60 or roundabout in your consideration set. And as Vijender mentioned, right, ROI is a function of what you spend plus what you earn post a program. So take into account the postgraduate salaries that an accounting professional earns in Toronto and in Canada. Okay, great. I think I want to go now to Professor Shankar and Marissa. And Professor Trivedi, you did answer this question in the chat window. This was from Jatin Goyal. 6 people upvoted this. So I want to come back to this question and take it up live for the benefit of the others in this room. Can you give some difference between the postgraduate accounting program that is offered by Schulich and the School of Continuing Studies at York? Is there a major difference in terms of faculty, quality of education? And I know that Schulich is the business school of York University, but York University does offer other accounting programs as well. So any highlights or anything that you can tell about this difference?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Sanjay. I don't want to say that other people are bad. I'll just say we are better. Okay, there's no doubt about that. We are the flagship. Our brand is very well known. Not only that, one major distinction is that our program is accredited by the CPA Institute all the way to the CFE. So as I said before, you don't have to get down and get onto a different train. Our train, if you get on our train, we take you all the way to the CFE. That means all the risks are removed, all the uncertainties are removed, and you work with all other students who are equally motivated, who are equally bright, right? And as you can see, we have some of the brightest instructors around who provide you with quality education, right? Who really teach you the case method, which means you succeed, right, on the CFE and later on in your life. That's very, very important, right? Later on in your life, right? We really train you and put you on a trajectory that takes you to the top positions within the profession and within industry, right? Nowadays, right, because you have the CFE, but the CPA designation that everybody has, you need to be able to differentiate yourself from the other CPA designation holders. And that's where the Schulich degree really kicks in. So yes, there is no comparison. Ours is a premium degree, premium quality education that we provide, and there's no comparison. Hopefully that answers the questions.
It sure does, and thank you for that. My quick request to the audience, we are in the last 5 minutes of the session. So if you have any important questions that you want an answer to that someone else has asked, please upvote those questions. It lets us know what is relevant for you as well, and we can take up those questions as well. So you can go through the Q&A box, see the questions that have been asked, and upvote those questions as well to let me know which are the relevant ones to ask to Vijinder, Professor Trivedi, Marissa, and the rest of the team. In the meanwhile, let me take this question from Gaurav, which is around GMAT or GRE. So Vijinder, in your slide, you did show GMAT, GRE as an application requirement. Is it mandatory, and are there any circumstances under which this requirement can be waived off?
So the short answer is yes, it's mandatory because I think it's a standard exam which consists of quant, verbal, reasoning, and analytical writing. So it's just a reliable predictor of student performance, right? So we do require you to submit a valid GMAT or a GRE score. And the only exception would be if you have a CFA, right? If you're a CFA level 3 or level 2 candidate, we make an exception. You email us and we waive off the GMAT or GRE requirement. That's the only time we waive off the GMAT or GRE requirement.
Great. Within the one follow-on question, so is the DIAC program and subsequently the Master of Accounting program open to only those applicants who have an accounting background, who have studied accounting, BCom at the undergrad level, or does the program accept applications from other non-accounting background students as well?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Yeah, Shankar can answer that. Yeah, go ahead.
The reason because we have experience in the class. We have had students with fine art degrees. We have students with degrees from natural sciences. We have had engineers, right? As long as you have the prerequisites, right, that we have posted, like microeconomics, macroeconomics, statistics, and finance, you're ready to go. And many of these people actually succeed because they come into the class with a different mindset, and then they learn accounting from day one from us, and so they really are well placed to succeed in the profession. Actually, I have a bachelor's degree in botany from India. Then I did my CA in India and came over here. So it's quite possible. So I'm just one example to show you that it's quite possible to do that. And that's the reason why we have this DIAC MAC program. The DIAC program is specially geared towards international students who don't have an accounting background, so that within a short period of 16 months, they are able to be fully prepared for the CFE and then succeed.
And just to add, we also focus on building a diverse cohort, right? So we want people from different backgrounds who can approach a problem differently, right? They'll have a very different perspective, different lens that they would use to solve a problem. Again, like Marissa mentioned, there's multiple ways to look at this problem and the answers that she was getting, right? Amazing. Like that's what you need in the classroom, right? So we do, and we'd love people to apply who are coming from a different, diverse background to apply and join the class.
Great. And Vijender, you did talk a little bit about this. There are some waivers for people starting the DIAC program in India, so $5,000 bursary over there, the award over there. But any other scholarships or bursaries that the applicants can look at when they're applying to this program?
Again, great question, important question. So all international applicants are automatically considered for all merit-based entrance scholarship, awards and scholarships. So a special application is not required. We will review your application, we'll interview you, and then when we offer you the admission, we'll let you know if you qualified and if you receive any scholarship, right? But that's not it, right? Once you start the program, there are other awards and bursaries that that you have access to, that you can submit application for during the program. So once you start the program, there are opportunities to get some bursaries and funding, additional funding, right? But for entrance, it is merit-based only. And there are three things that we look at. We look at your GPA, because it's merit-based. We look at your GPA, your GMAT or GRE score, and your leadership skills, right? Overall profile, leadership skills. Those are the three things that we look at to award entrance scholarship.
Okay. And so Vijender, I understand this program is being launched in India now. So next year is going to be the first intake. But the Masters of Accounting in Toronto has been running for a while now. Do we have the median and mean GMAT GRE scores available for that? Just in case the audience want to draw a reference point and understand what they should be targeting before applying to the program.
So our average GMAT score for accounting is about 640. That's our average, but the range is anywhere from, let's say, 600 to 720 or so. So that's the average that you're looking at, right? That's the range that you're looking at. But again, going back to what I said, we do a holistic evaluation. So everything about you is important, right? Not just the GMAT score. Let's say you write the GMAT test, you score 620, 630, don't worry too much. Focus on other parts of your application. Strengthen those essays, right? Strong references, focus on highlighting your extracurricular activities. Your interview, I think, is an important, part of the entire application process. So perform well, prepare, and then we will look at the entire application before offering you the admission, right? So GMAT, yes, 640 is the average, but don't worry too much if you don't, if you're below the average GMAT of 640. And you can use the GRE tool to just convert the GRE score to a GMAT equivalent. Okay.
So roughly somewhere around 318
to 319. That's correct. Yes.
Great. So fairly reasonable scores, and it's a holistic evaluation. So the score is just one of the components. If you do well on the other parameters, make a great application, then you may stand a chance of making it to the program, even with an average or slightly below average score as well. So great, thank you for that insight. I think we are about time with the session, but okay, so instead of taking a question, let me go back to the panelists and invite Marissa, Professor Trivedi, Vijender, or Rahul, if they have any advice for the attendees today, those who are looking to apply to this program next year or starting next year. So any advice, any suggestions to the audience?
My advice would be that, you want to choose your program very well. The easiest pathway is not always the best pathway to take. So yes, our program is challenging, it's rigorous, it's different. But sometimes coming out of your comfort zone is exactly what you need to set you off to the right path. And we're very confident in our program. We're very confident that, with our 90% pass rate, that, we can essentially equip our students with the skills that they need to successfully pass the CFE. And we want to make sure that when you write the examination, you write it one time and you successfully pass it. You don't want to be that perpetual writer year after year writing the CFE examination. So we are looking forward to having you in our program, and we wish you continued success. And once again, thanks for listening to us this evening.
Great, thank you for that. If anything from Professor Trivedi, Vijender, please feel free. To the audience, as you're, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but Toronto is the financial capital in Canada. I've been to the city. It's dominated by banking, financial services, companies, lots of opportunities over there. The big four in accounting, consulting, they are there. The big banks are there. So great place to study if you are looking for a career in accounting, finance, and you broadly want to be in the BFSI industry. But anything else from Professor Trivedi or Vijender, please do feel free.
Just one advice: think long term, right? So you're not just thinking about DIAC or MAC or just think long term, right? So that would be my only advice. And the other advice would be take a screenshot of this and connect with us. Right, I'm sure you have more questions and you'd like to discuss your profile in detail. So please use this link to submit your application, your profile, not application, your profile. We will connect with you, and we're also open to having a Zoom one-on-one conversation, right, to discuss your profile in detail and to help you submit a strong application. So please feel free to take a screenshot of this, and we look forward to evaluating your application and connecting with you. Thank you.
Yeah, just from my side, I'm just reiterating what Marissa and Vijender said. If you need a competitive advantage, if you want to be a leader in business and accounting, right? The Schulich MAC program is the way that you have to go. Will set you up for success in your life. And so, as Marissa said, you can look at other programs. They're easier, but they won't prepare you for your career throughout your life, not just passing the CFE. And even passing the CFE, we have one of the highest pass rates in the country, right? So those are things that you need to keep in mind when you make your decision. And finally, right, getting a designation, a CPA designation from Canada means it provides you with the passport to go anywhere in the world, right? First, you come to Canada. Getting a work permit in Canada is easier. So you get a legal status to be in a first world country like Canada, which, is one of the best countries to stay in. And then with that, foundation, you can go anywhere in the world and succeed. So just have that in mind, take a long-term view, and then, you will agree with me that it's a slam dunk, that the Schulich designation, the Schulich degree is the way to go. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for doing this. My apologies to Rahul. We weren't able to bring you into the conversation with any questions, but I'm sure the audience would get some opportunity when they get in touch for the profile evaluation and some conversations. They'll see you as well. To the audience, we are traveling. In fact, Schulich is traveling with us across the country next month. We are doing some tours across Bombay, Pune, Delhi, Chandigarh. So if we are visiting your college, if we are visiting your campus at that time, do connect, do attend, and meet the team over there as well. The Schulich team, along with other institutions, is going to be there. And if you have any queries, any further questions for the Schulich team, the grad inquiry form has been posted in the chat window. You can use that to send in your profile and get feedback on your profile from the team as well. With that note, with everyone's permission, we are over time. We had planned this to be a 1 hour, 70-minute session, but we went overboard with the audience questions. So thank you for being a patient audience. I hope you found this conversation useful and beneficial. If you're looking to attend more such interactions, do follow SEED. We are SEED Global Education. We are a UK headquartered company, and we work in the higher education space, connecting prospective students like yourself with top schools, top engineering and business schools around the world. So for more such interactions, do follow SEED as well. And if you hear from us that we are visiting your campus next month, do come to that session and interact with the Schulich team and us as well. We look forward to meeting you over there. So thank you for being a patient audience, and have a great evening. Thank you to the panelists as well. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Shankar. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, Vijender. Rahul, it's been a pleasure in hosting you and interacting with all of you. Have a great evening. Have a great day in Toronto, and take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.